My wife secretly had a coworker spy on me at work because she was jealous of a female colleague I worked with on a project months ago. I just found out, and now I don't know how to confront her. We've been married for 5 years now, and together for about 8. It's been a great relationship overall. One built on mutual love and a lot of shared growth. I'm not the best at writing these things, so apologies in advance if this comes off disorganized. I just needed to get this off my chest and maybe get some perspective because I'm not sure how to navigate the situation anymore. So for a little background, my wife has been dealing with some jealousy lately, and it revolves around a coworker of mine named Heather. She's in her early 20s, tall, attractive, bright-eyed, the kind of person you can imagine doing well socially and professionally. And yes, I noticed just like I notice if someone has green eyes or curly hair. Observations, not attractions. Heather and I aren't close friends or anything like that. We've only worked closely once about 8 months ago. We were both assigned to a team project along with 3 other colleagues. For the duration of that month-long project, we were around each other quite a bit during work hours. Meetings, brainstorming sessions, client briefings, that kind of thing. All strictly professional. My wife first saw her by coincidence. She was picking me up from work one evening to go to dinner at my parents' place, and I happened to be leaving the building with the project team, Heather included. I introduced everyone quickly, including Heather, and the entire rest of the ride my wife was visibly off. As soon as we were alone, she asked, "Who's the tall girl?" I told her Heather was a new hire and part of the current project team. That was when things started shifting. Over the next month, while the project was still ongoing, my wife's mood was different. There was this tension at home that I couldn't quite put my finger on at first. She was irritated more often, critical of little things, more distant some days, and overly affectionate on others in what felt like a performative way. The weirdest part was how frequently she brought up Heather. Never by name, always just that girl, or your coworker. She'd make little jabs, like saying Heather was lanky or that her nose wasn't as perfect as she thinks, which really caught me off guard. My wife doesn't normally speak that way about people. It was almost like she needed to believe that Heather wasn't attractive or worth paying attention to, like she was building a case to prove something to herself. My wife has always been self-conscious about her height. She's 5 feet 4 inches and has mentioned in the past how society glamorizes taller women. But I've told her over and over again that I absolutely love her petite figure and that she's beautiful to me. I tell her all the time. She truly is gorgeous. People stop in their tracks when we're walking through the city together, but none of that seems to matter when she's feeling insecure. Despite all my reassurance, once she saw Heather and realized she was tall and not unattractive, it was like she immediately assumed I was into her. I've tried to explain to her multiple times that there's nothing between me and Heather. I don't text her outside of work, don't hang out with her, don't flirt, nothing. She's just a colleague and, honestly, not even someone I have much of a connection with outside of that one project. But my wife wasn't having it. Whenever she came by my job to meet me, she'd greet all my coworkers, except Heather. Sometimes she'd ignore her completely. Other times, she'd give her a look that made even me feel uncomfortable. She started dressing up more when she came to see me after work. Not that she needed to. She always looks amazing. But she'd wear heels, do her makeup, and make a show of kissing me or jumping on me like we were teenagers in public. One thing that really stood out was her behavior with food. My wife works at a beautiful little bakery, great atmosphere, amazing pastries, and often brings back leftovers for my coworkers or for us to share at home. But when it came to Heather, it was different. She'd hand out croissants, tarts, or sandwiches to everyone, except Heather. Once, she gave a muffin to the intern sitting next to Heather and completely skipped her. The silence was thick in the room. It was awkward, and I couldn't even look at Heather because I knew she felt it too. Eventually, the tension that had been simmering started to affect things at work. Heather picked up on the coldness from my wife. It's not like she could miss it. She approached me one day, cautiously, after one of our all-staff meetings. She asked me straight up, "Did I do something to upset your wife?" I wasn't sure what to say. I didn't want to throw my wife under the bus, and I didn't want to make Heather feel any more uncomfortable than she already clearly was. So I gave her a vague but polite answer, something like, "I'm not really sure, maybe it's just that she doesn't know you as well as some of the others. She can be reserved with new people." Heather nodded, though she didn't look convinced. After that conversation, I noticed she began to keep a bit of distance. She stopped leaving the office at the same time as the rest of us, and I realized she was either heading out early or lingering behind until the coast was clear. That stung a bit, Not because I had any special feelings for Heather, but because it made my workplace feel hostile and unfair for someone who hadn't done anything wrong. Then last Friday, one of my coworkers, Brian, pulled me aside. Brian's a good guy, very no-nonsense, and we've worked together for a few years now. He told me he needed to talk about something kind of uncomfortable. Apparently, he had been out at lunch with Kate, another coworker, when she stepped away from the table to go pay for their food. She left her phone on the table, and while it was sitting there, a text popped up. It was from my wife, Valerie. Brian said he wasn't snooping, but the name caught his eye. He assumed it couldn't possibly be my Valerie, but then the message preview showed. Did you see him talking to her today? What did he say? And a follow-up. Do you think Heather's going to stay at that job long? He said when Kate came back and saw him looking at the screen, she froze up for a second. When he asked, is that Valerie, like his wife? She just kind of smiled nervously and said, oh yeah, we text sometimes. We're friends. Then she shoved her phone in her purse without even checking the messages, and they left. He said the whole thing gave him a weird feeling, and he thought I should know. I didn't want to believe it. I honestly didn't. But at the same time, the moment he said it, a part of me wasn't even surprised. All the little odd things, my wife's increasing knowledge of small moments that happened at work, her ability to bring up tiny details about Heather and me that she shouldn't have known unless someone had told her, it suddenly made too much sense. When I got home, I did something I'm not proud of. I snooped through her phone. I know, it's a violation of privacy, and I've never done anything like that in our relationship before. But I also knew if I asked her directly, she would likely get defensive or dodge it entirely. So I waited until she was in the shower and unlocked her phone. What I found honestly left me cold. There were weeks of text conversations between her and Kate. It wasn't just occasional updates. It was like she had planted someone on the inside of my job. Every message was a mini report. Some were about completely benign interactions. If I'd said hi to Heather, if she asked me a question in a meeting, if we laughed at the same joke. Others were borderline obsessive. Did she hug him goodbye today? Did she touch his arm? Did he laugh at her joke more than he laughs at yours? Do the guys think she's hot? Did he agree with them? Did he look at her butt? On and on. Reading it was surreal. My wife, someone I've built a life with, shared everything with, was conducting a low-key surveillance operation on me through someone I thought was just a friendly colleague. And worse, she was feeding her own anxiety and jealousy by pulling another person into it. I felt angry,
Betrayed.
confused. Not because she thought I might be attracted to someone else, that I can understand on some level even if it hurts. But the secrecy? The manipulation? Recruiting someone to spy on me? That was a whole other level of mistrust that I didn't even know she was capable of. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't know how to begin that conversation without exploding. Instead, I just sat on the couch in silence for a long time, while she played with the dog and talked about dinner. I kept thinking, how long has she been doing this? What else has she hidden from me? I found myself reading that one line over and over. Val works in a bakery. I bet if anyone tried to steal her husband, she'd just chop them up and bake them into a pie. Ha ha. There was nothing funny about it.
It was creepy.
Possessive. Almost threatening, like a veiled warning disguised as a joke. That wasn't a normal thing to say. And worse, it was being said at work, to someone who, for all intents and purposes, had done absolutely nothing wrong. Heather had simply been a colleague. Friendly, polite, professional. And now she was being treated like some kind of villain in a movie that only my wife had written the script for. After reading that message, a lot of pieces suddenly fell into place. Heather's distance. Her cautious, somewhat awkward goodbyes. The lack of casual conversation between us lately. At first, I just chalked it up to post-project disengagement, maybe even the natural rhythms of work relationships shifting. But now, I could see it clearly. She was trying to protect herself. She was probably feeling the pressure of something she couldn't quite name, like someone walking through fog only to realize it's smoke. And maybe, somehow, she knew my wife was watching her, knew someone had their eyes on her through Kate, or sensed the judgment in passing comments. And Kate?
God.
I couldn't even look at her on Monday morning. I avoided the kitchen, avoided the shared desk spaces. It was like she had become a stranger overnight. The way she'd played double agent, feeding Valerie updates, twisting casual office dynamics into fuel for paranoia, it made my skin crawl. And yet, she still smiled at me like nothing had changed. As if I didn't know what she'd been doing behind my back for weeks. But the truth is, I felt just as alienated from Heather as I did from Kate. I couldn't look her in the eye either. Not because I was angry with her, I wasn't.
But because I felt shame.
Embarrassment. Like I had let something fester and spiral in my marriage to the point where it spilled over into someone else's life. She had no idea that her every move, every word around me had been monitored, dissected, and speculated on. She had unknowingly walked into a trap of someone else's insecurity, and now she was pulling away, rightfully so. And I didn't know how to fix that. Or if I even should. I've been sitting with this for days now. Not really eating much. Not sleeping well either. Just processing. Turning it over in my head again and again, wondering when it all shifted. When the dynamic in my marriage became one where suspicion bloomed in secret group chats instead of conversations. When my wife stopped asking me questions and instead started using someone else to find answers. I know I'm not perfect. I know I can be oblivious sometimes, maybe too friendly, without realizing how it comes across. But I've never betrayed my wife. I've never even considered it. I've always been proud of our relationship, of our commitment, of the love we built together. But something about the spying, the manipulation, the quiet campaign to intimidate another woman, feels like a crack I can't unsee. I haven't talked to anyone about this. Not Brian. Not my friends. Not even my brother, who I usually vent to when something's eating at me. I guess I'm ashamed. Ashamed that my marriage, this thing I've always held sacred, suddenly feels contaminated, compromised. And I still haven't confronted Valerie. It's like every time I try to bring it up, my throat tightens. How do you even start a conversation like that? Hey, I read through weeks of your messages with someone who was reporting on my work life, like I was under surveillance. Do you want to explain why? It's not something you say casually over dinner or during an ad break on Netflix. But I can't keep pretending everything's fine. I've noticed it even in my tone around her. Something has shifted. Our conversations feel forced. My affection feels hesitant, filtered. It's like part of me is playing a role, buying time, trying to hold things together just long enough to figure out what I'm really feeling and what I'm going to do next. I don't want to punish her. I don't even want to scream at her. I just want answers. I want to understand how we got here. Why she couldn't just talk to me about her feelings instead of orchestrating this weird dynamic behind my back. And I want to know, does she even realize how damaging this is? Not just for me, but for Heather and for our marriage and even for her? Because none of this looks like love. It looks like fear, like obsession, like she couldn't bear to trust me without control. And maybe that's the scariest part, realizing that someone can love you deeply, fiercely, and still not trust you. Realizing that maybe she doesn't see me as a partner anymore, but as a variable, something to be managed,
Contained. Watched.
I know I need to talk to her. I know I can't live in this limbo. But right now, everything feels fragile. And I'm afraid. Afraid that when I finally open my mouth and speak the truth of what I know, something in our relationship will break in a way it can't be put back together. Still, I can't go on like this.
Something has to change.
And I think it starts with a conversation that scares the hell out of me. I just hope that on the other side of it, there's still something worth saving. A short summarization. My wife secretly had a coworker spy on me at work and report on my interactions with another female colleague she's jealous of. I found out by accident, read the messages, and now I don't know how to confront her or where our relationship stands. Feeling violated, ashamed, and lost. Any advice welcome.